Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in this video I'd like to share with you how I upcycled and renovated some really beaten up old dining room chairs, and I decided to turn them into some garden chairs with materials that I've salvaged, so the cost of this build is practically nothing. So I hope you enjoy the video. So here are the chairs. I found these thrown out on the roadside one night when I was coming home. You can see they've got MDF tops with like a plasticky veneer on them, and they've been out in the rain, so the MDF has swelled up, so these tops are no good now, and there's some rust and sort of damage to the paintwork. So I started off by removing the seats. So the seats were held on with some Allen key bolts, and these were easy enough to remove with a standard Allen key. And the tops had some insert nuts. I wanted to keep these to use for the new tops. They were really easy to remove because the MDF was quite moist and they came out really easily. So for the new seats, I'm going to be using this 18mm thick plywood. I found this in a skip, so I thought this would be a good way to use it up. To make the tops, I'm going to use the original tops as a template and then draw around them and then later cut out the shape. So now I could drill down into the original holes to use again as a template to mark up where the positions of the holes need to be on the new seats. I could then add this to the plywood and just drill down slightly to make a mark. So then I needed to work out the depth to drill, so I'm using some black tape here as a marker as not to go too deep. Then I could put these insert nuts back in, and these should provide a nice solid fixing for the bolts. So then I gave a light sanding to the metal frames just to give them a key for the paint to go on. And I just removed all the dust with a cloth. So firstly I added some primer. Then for the main colour, I'm going to be using this really dark grey paint. So now I needed to cut out the seats. So to cut them out, I'm using a jigsaw. This is probably not the ideal way of doing it, but it turned out fine in the end. I just took my time and I ended up with some pretty good circular shapes. So then, because it's plywood, I wanted to round over the edges to prevent any splintering or damage to the edges. So I have a round over bit in my palm router here. I then wanted to just fill in any small holes around the edges with some wood filler. I could then give it all a hand sanding when the filler was dry. And I smoothed all the edges and worked my way down to a very fine grade. So for the finish, I'm using this old exterior wood stain, which is a mahogany colour. To offer some good protection, I added 3 coats of this stain. And I also painted the bottoms. So once they were dry, all I had to do was to add the seats back onto the chair frames. Before adding the bolts, I dipped them into some grease. Then, just making sure everything was in position, I tightened the bolts finger tight. And then tightened them up with the Allen key. And that was the chairs all finished. So that's about it for this video. I think the chairs turned out great in the end, considering that everything I used was recycled, free. The plywood was in a skip, the stain was found on the side of the road, the chairs were on the side of the road, and even the spray I used was off an old project from some car wheels from years ago. So there was no cost on this one, and I made those chairs into something that can now be used in the garden. So if you found this video useful, please remember to like and also consider subscribing for more DIY related videos. I try to get one on every week. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.